What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today we're going to compare two different digital watches. So we have the Casio F91W and the SKMEI fake Casio F91W. No, it's not really a fake, it's just a homage. But as you can see, both of these are blue. So what we're going to do is, in typical Watch Wars fashion, we're going to compare 10 different categories and see which one comes out on top. But before we do that, quick wristwatch check, and we're actually wearing the Alpha Explorer Homage. Very, very cool little watch. You can check out my content on that if you want to. So, before we get into this, let's roll the intro. Right guys, so here are the two watches, and as you can see, they look very, very similar, because one of them is a homage and one is of course the original. So let's show the first scores. And first of all, you can see the Casio wins the design, because obviously it's the original, it's the OG, and it's obviously the better looking out of the two as well, in my opinion. The reason why I think this one is a little bit better looking is because I prefer the shade of blue that the original Casio is. This one's a little bit paler. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I do really like the blue on this F91W. The SKMEI, it looks okay, but it's just a little bit of an imposter, in my opinion. It's definitely not the same. The colour, again, is a little bit different. So yeah, the original Casio just takes the win, because it's just the original. This one, I think it looks okay. I mean, at a glance, you could probably confuse it for the Casio, but then looking deeper, you can just see, the Casio, the printings and the it's not a dial really, is it? The screen, it's a little bit nicer looking. The printing around is a little bit cleaner, a little bit sharper. So yeah, it's definitely a better looking watch for the price point. But yeah, the SKMEI, it still looks pretty nice. So let's move on to the next category, and that is build and finish. And again, the Casio does actually win this category. And the reason why this Casio wins is because, well, it's just better made. It feels a little bit heavier than the SKMEI. It's not by much, probably just a few gram, but it just feels a little bit better. I've also noticed that the buttons feel a lot better as well. They feel a little bit more robust, whereas the SKMEIs, they're a little bit spongy feeling. I mean, they still work absolutely fine, there's not wrong with them, but there's the Casios just feels that much better. They're just more robust, they've got a nicer action, and they don't feel like wet sponge. And so yeah, the SKMEI definitely loses here. And also the finishing on the Casio is much better. The strap finish feels a lot nicer, the case finish is a lot nicer. Actually, the only place where I do like the SKMEI is the case back. I just think it's got a little bit more to it. But the Casio is is really nice looking, and there's the SKMEI. I just think it's it's got a little bit more to it. It is a little bit deeper, I've noticed as well. You can just see if I show it here at the side there, and then you can just see the Casio. You can see it's a little bit thicker at the bottom. I'm not really sure why that is, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, this one is definitely a better built and finished watch. The SKMEI, it looks okay, it's decently finished. But if you want better, then obviously you've got to go with a Casio. Next up is the actual strap, and again, the Casio, it just takes the win. I've noticed that the SKMEI strap is a little bit plasticky feeling. I mean, the Casio strap is not great, don't get me wrong, that's why it's only scored a 6.5, but it's a little bit better, it's a lot more flexible, a lot more playable, whereas this one, it's a little bit cheaper feeling, a little bit more rigid, and a little bit, like a lower grade plastic, it feels like. Even though it's a resin, it just feels a little bit cheaper grade. So yeah, that's why the Casio wins. It's just much more supple and much nicer to wear. Speaking of wear, let's take a closer look at comfort. And actually, it's pretty close, with the Casio scoring 6 and the SKMEI scoring 5. So the reason why the Casio scores better is just because of that strap. It just wears much nicer and feels better on wrist. Whereas the SKMEI, the strap is a little bit harder, it's a little bit more rigid, and it's not quite as comfortable. Now the Casio, I probably could have scored this a little bit better, actually, to be fair. I was being a little bit critical, but I'd probably say this is about 6.5 in comfort, and this one, it's still a 5 just because of that strap. So let's move on to the next category, and that is Illumination. And actually, it's a pretty shocking win for the SKMEI. Now, if you know your illumination, you know Casio on F91Ws, it's pretty abysmal. They have a little tiny light in the corner and it barely illuminates anything, whereas the SKMEI actually uses a full screen illumination, and it is much better. It's much brighter and it's so much easier to read in low light situations. So the SKMEI actually wins its first category. And yeah, it's just the illumination is so much better. You can just see by the video now, I'm holding both the light buttons, you can just see the difference between the SKMEI and Casio. So I think Casio could definitely, you know, if they're bringing out a new revived F91W, they could pull the finger out and put a little bit better LED in it, just to make it a little bit more, you know, better in low light situations. So now we're going to move on to the next category, which is the features. And we'll just move the watches out of the way. You can see the Casio scores 7 and the SKMEI scores a 6. Now, both of these have exactly the same features. You just press this button here to cycle through them, and you've got an alarm, you've got a stopwatch, and then you've got a timer, and then the time and an alarm and all that good stuff. Go away. There we go. I don't want to adjust the time. Stop it. So they've both got exactly the same features. It's just the Casio did it first. The Casio does it a little bit better, and I think it just works a little bit better. Even though, you know, the scores are very similar and they've both got good features, you know, the Casio was the original, it did it first, and the SKMEI has just copied it. And the reason why it scores 6 is because it actually works really well for the price point. So yeah, if you just want a you know, a cheap beta watch for exercise, you know, the SKMEI, you know, be perfectly fine. So now we get on to the water resistance, and it's actually another shocking win for the SKMEI. So let's just show you the scores, and it is 6.5 to 4. Now, the reason why the Casio only scores a 4 is because it only has 30 meters of water resistance, whereas the SKMEI has 50. Would I trust that? Probably not, but just based on specifications and numbers, the SKMEI does actually win. Pretty shocking, in my opinion. Don't know why Casio have only gone with 30 meters, to be fair. But, you know, they probably could have pushed that. And I have actually seen these get absolutely beaten. There's a watch channel called Average Joe Watch Reviews. He proper torture tested one of these. So I'll put his channel link in the description. You can check that out. It's a really fun video. He's done a whole series on how tough these watches actually are. Whether the SKMEI's is tough, that's yet to be seen. So now we move on to the brand. Oh, hang on. And can we spin it around? There we go. You've got a little glimpse of the next score. But anyway, so let's show you the scores. And it is 9 to 4. Of course, when it comes to brand, Casio is the king of budget watches, budget digital watches. If anyone says, I need a budget digital watch, Casio. That is the first name out of any enthusiast's mouth. Casio. SKMEI, you know, they're making a decent name for themselves for, you know, producing watches, but when it comes to name, Casio just takes it and walks away with it every day of the week. Even against, you know, like Timex and stuff like that, I'd still rather have a Casio than a Timex digital. Just my opinion. I think Casio, you know, they've been in this industry a long time, they know what they're doing, and they do it extremely well. So let's move on to the last category, which is price. And actually, it's very close, but the SKMEI does just take it by half a point. And the reason why the SKMEI takes it by half a point is actually this watch is way under a tenner, and this blue variant is actually over a tenner. So the SKMEI is cheaper, and it's pretty much, you know, the same throughout. But, you know, if you just want a cheap beta and you don't really care if it gets bust, then the SKMEI will be perfectly fine. I actually wear this one quite carefully because I really do like it. I think it was £15 I paid for this one, and that's about what you can expect to pay, whereas this one you can pick them up for like 5 or 6 quid. So you could get 2 of these for the price of 1 of them, which is why it just takes the edge in price. But both of them are very well priced watches. So now let's get on to the final scores, and here we go. You can see the Casio has 68 to the SKMEI's 57. So the Casio is still the king of budget digital watches, and I don't think any other brand really can touch these watches at this price point. Just my opinion. You can argue if you want in the comments, but for, you know, 10 to 15 to 20 pound digital watch, you've got to go Casio. It's just the way it is. It's like watch enthusiast law. It just has to be done. So anyway, yes, the Casio does win, and, you know, rightly so. It's the original. It's just better made. It looks nicer. Yeah, it loses out on the illumination and water resistance, but everywhere else it's just leagues better. I will admit that they are catching up, but they're not quite there yet, and the Casio still retains its crown. So yeah, is that a surprising result? I don't think it is, to be honest. But anyway, that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.